Hello everyone, I'm NiiNiiFC and this is Blue Lines TV, and today I'm bringing you the match preview for our game against Arsenal in the Community Shield. Now, there's actually quite a lot to talk about and I need to stop saying that all the time, but before I even kick things off, I need to say thanks to everyone that's been DMing me and showing support. That's been DMing me and showing support because they encouraged me to start a Patreon page. I've been getting a lot of messages regarding, donations and, wanting to help out and stuff like that. So it means a lot. So if anyone wants to do anything like that, I mean, you don't even have to. In the description below, you'll see the link to it. But anyway, thanks to you guys for even, telling me to do that in the first place. But getting on straight into the match preview. And of course, to kick things off, yes, Moses is allowed to play in the Community Shield, so that's nothing to worry about, you guys. He's going to be suspended for the first game of the season against Burnley. So again, it's not really the end of the world in my opinion, because Burnley haven't strengthened at all. So yeah, that's not too bad. So he's going to be available. So we're going to have a near full strength lineup. Of course, quite a lot of players are missing. Pedro is definitely going to be coming back. He's been training now. I think he still has the face mask on, but I think by the time we play on Saturday, he might not need it anymore. So ideally, that's going to be okay. But of course, a lot of our new players aren't. Conte said Alvaro Morata still isn't match fit enough. Still going to need a few weeks. Bakayoko still recovering from his injury to get full peak fitness. Hazard's not playing. Rudiger isn't going to start either. So it's quite annoying. If I'm Conte, I'm a bit frustrated that it took the club so long. Actually, no, I can't even say it took the club so long because it wasn't really the club's fault for why circumstances like that happen in the first place. Sometimes transfers can just be quite long, especially with Monaco. They were selling quite a lot of players already. So, of course, they were delaying things until they could get in replacements. But, when we did go for players like Rudiger, that was wrapped up really quickly when we went in. So it does happen, but you guys, we have to understand, the transfer business in general is pretty long. So, basically, as I was saying earlier, throughout the whole pre-season, we kind of got an idea on what the team is going to be like anyway. And Conte's been looking at that in mind in advance. So it looks like Courtois obviously is going to be in goal. I'm looking forward to seeing what Courtois can do when the season starts. Of course, there's going to be a season preview happening next week, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be a long live stream. I know everyone's missed the long live streams. There's going to be some special guests on as well, so that's going to be a really good one. Stay tuned for that. The back three is going to be the same as last season. Yes, Gary Cahill is going to be continuing into the new season. I know you guys, including myself, isn't necessarily pleased about that because I think tactically he's a liability. I mean, here's the thing. When I talk about Cahill, I never imply that he's like a John O'Shea impersonator or anything like that. No, I mean, he is a good defender. But I'm just saying, if you compare him to the players we have in our team, he just isn't as good, in my opinion. But and again, throughout pre-season too, that combination on the left with him and Alonso hasn't worked once at all. And the worrisome thing was when we beat Arsenal 3-0 in the during pre-season, anytime they attacked, they were still finding joy down that left-hand side. And I was thinking we were completely dominating them, creating a lot of chances against them, but they were still getting down that left-hand side fairly easily. Of course, I know it's pre-season, but let's be serious. I don't think the squad's at its full capacity in terms of fitness. We haven't really had much of a pre-season in terms of games played anyway, so that's quite worrisome in a way. Am I expecting things to be different in the Arsenal game? I think so, but I'm going to get into how Conte is going to address the lineup tactically later on in the video. But yes, Luis, who is our best defender, his game against Inter, I know we lost 2-1, but he was just amazing. I should have spoken about it more during the review, but obviously, sometimes you forget these things. He's going to continue on. And Azpilicueta, Aspi during his pre-season, again, when I look at him, I think he's still not fully match fit. He was making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes, and there were individual errors, which is, unlike him. And I think he made 2 throughout the pre-season, which isn't synonymous with Azpilicueta. But again, this is why I'm not too harsh about what happens, because the main thing is about building fitness. So of course, we've got very competitive, winning-driven squads, but to really do justice to their winning mentality, they have to be at optimum fitness. So that's always going to be a contributor to what happens in games. But I'm hoping that Aspi is going to look a bit sharper because he's been looking kind of uncharacteristic. So yeah, that's going to be something to see. Now getting onto the midfield, yes, Kante and Fabregas will play. I know a lot of people have been critical of our midfield, but I've explained tactically, and I'm going to explain it again. So you guys definitely listen to me, because I always repeat this point every single time. But the way we play in our system, and I know a lot of you guys are going to be bored, but the way we play in our system is it's about playing the quick balls in the central areas to the front three, who then in turn hold onto the ball, hold onto possession. The minute they do that, that's when the wing-backs know it's my time to get forward now. They make runs forward, but here's the thing. If a member of the front three loses the ball, for example, Michy Batshuayi constantly losing it, then what happens to the wing-backs then? They're out of position, and they have to make recovery runs back. Now, Moses can do that very easily, but Alonso just isn't as good at making those recovery runs back. But at the same time, usually a wing-back or two or both are out of position. So that means our midfield too are exposed, because in the 3-4-3, wing-backs aren't full-backs. You know, they're kind of like wide midfield players. So they're exposed, and what happens then? Well, either Fabregas or Kante will then have to push out wide to cover the space left and behind by the wing-back, meaning one of them is always isolated in the middle. So then when teams are counter-attacking and flooding men forward, what's going to happen? There's overloads. And then, of course, the back three will get stretched, because one's thinking, oh, I need to come out and support the midfielder, this and that. And that's why our midfield looks exposed. And really, it's not about them not being good or being poor defensively. It's just a weakness in the system when it's not done properly. Now, this is the thing. We're completely different when we're on the ball, because we have the midfield have the protection with their three centre-backs behind them, plus the options in front. And they're infinitely better when they're on the ball. And I really think this is my main thing with Conte and how I want us to play, is we should be a team that should be keeping more of the ball, because it's only going to benefit us, and it's going to stop those stupid mistakes on the counter-attack that constantly happen all the time. Of course, certain players can improve upon those weaknesses even more. I'll get into that later on. But I needed to address that point about how our midfield play, because it's not about them being poor. This is what I don't know. I'll get into the tactics later on. Of course, the wing backs is going to be Moses, so I thought he had a good pre-season. I thought he was one of the better players, to be fair. And he was really quite versatile, especially when he played on the left-hand side too. And I really thought that showcased that actually it's not Aspilicueta that's saving his skin all the time and making him look better. You know, he can actually defend one-on-one, and he's good, because when did he see any players skip past him? Alonso, at the start, I have to say I thought Alonso had a lack of match fitness, especially those in the Bayern game, especially the recovery runs back. He just wasn't there at all, and that's definitely a contributor, because they're in China. It's humid. The altitude, the heat. I mean, there's a lot of things against them, so it's natural. Surely he's probably more fit now, and I'm sure Conte is going to have some tactical plans forthcoming in there in the next coming game. Now moving on to the front three, and it looks like, of course, Conte won't give a chance to Berger and Masunda to come on. You know, that's fairly obvious. It's going to look like Pedro's going to regain his place back. Willian and Michy up front. I'm really hoping that Conte plays Willian on the left-hand side, because I keep saying this point and I'll always say it. He's infinitely better playing on the left-hand side, cutting in and shooting. And I've always felt sorry for Willian in that regards, because that's his natural role. And playing on the right is completely different in terms of you're more supportive. You know, you're not able to shoot on your stronger foot as often as you want. You're wider, so you're away from the play more often. And I think with Willian, one of the things that doesn't help him all the time is his off-the-ball movement. I think that's one thing that he's lacked and he's never been amazing at. And of course, playing on the right out of position, that's highlighted even more. So I'm thinking, if anything, Willian on the left is going to be beneficial to him and to the team, and Pedro should stay on the right. Michy, I'm really hoping, confident. I hope he's got a confidence boost during training. I hope he's bagging in the goals. I hope he's going to come in looking sharp, because when he started the game against Arsenal, his hold-up play wasn't too bad. There were still one or two mistakes that shouldn't be happening, but was still there. But then after that, the Bayern Munich game was awful. And to me, he was the worst player. And both goals that Bayern Munich scored came from counter-attacks directly from Michy losing the ball. And this is the main reason why Conte wasn't using him much last season. And it seems like he still hasn't improved that much. But at the same time, it's hard because, again, he hasn't been starting games. So how is he going to improve without playing more often? There's always a chicken and egg situation at Chelsea, but it doesn't have to be like that. You know, give them game time. If you're paying a team like Burnley, for example, coming on in the last 5 minutes is doing nothing for you, and you can afford to do that. I mean, you're a big club. You're spending millions and millions, hundreds of millions per year in the transfer window on players. You know what I mean? If you think a 35 million player isn't good enough to get more than 20 minutes against Burnley, then why even going for the player in the first place? There's all these frustrations that I have with Chelsea, but that's a completely different video. But again, our success against Arsenal is going to come down to how well our front three play. In my opinion, I would like to see a Jeremy Boga play. Why? Because whenever he played, out of all the front three players he was playing with, he was the one to lose the ball the least. He rarely lost it. He was direct. He forced the wing-backs back, and that's what you need to do. Force them back. Attack that space out wide. I know Conte won't be brave. He won't give him a chance. He's going to think, you know, I don't know why. In my opinion, I mean, you know, you're telling me he's not going to skip past Bellerin and Oxlade-Chamberlain? I mean, come on. And yeah, personally, I would like that, but it's not going to happen. If anything, if it came into a second half, I'm sure Morata would probably get the last 15-20 minutes, probably playing out wide or playing up front with Mitchie, and we'd be pumping long balls in. I'm not even, you know. But yeah, our success is going to come down to how well our front three keep the ball, because that's imperative. That's the most important part of the system. Now, this is what I worry about with Pedro as well. Pedro is a type of player. He's a good player. You can't deny that, but it's his consistency. And I've always seen him out of 3 games, Pedro will play 1 fantastic game. He's unplayable. Then his other 2, the second one's just average. He's not doing much. And the third one's poor. And I'm thinking at this type of level, that really shouldn't be the case. But it's funny because, again, he should be on the bench when things like that are happening with him. And that he should be getting a kick up the backside to improve. And, you know, too often in the system sometimes, you know, it's weird because he does complement it, but at times he doesn't. And it's his hold-up play. I mean, for example, he gets brushed off the ball way too easily. Way too easily. I mean, especially now when teams know you have to man-mark our front three. And he really struggles when teams do that. And, again, some of his passing as well. So, again, it's not the most complimentary. But, again, his movement off the ball, the runs and behind, the space he creates with the other front 2 players. And his finishing, left foot, right foot, long shot, movement inside the box is fantastic. So, again, it's another, like, chicken and egg type of player that we seem to love at this club. But our success is going to come down to how well they keep it, because the wing-backs need to get the support. And I really think that, you know, to beat Arsenal, it's about who's going to win the battle of the flanks. It always comes down to who's going to win that. And I think sometimes with Conte, he just doesn't necessarily, you know, doesn't build the attacks down the flanks as much as he should. And I think that can be to our detriment sometimes, because I feel that we let teams come onto us unnecessarily, not because of fantastic pressure by them or fantastic build-up play, but because we tend to retreat and create these defensive low blocks to soak up pressure, which really doesn't, you know, doesn't complement some of the players we have in the team. We're not the type of Chelsea team that can park the bus and then get that 0-0 draw, 1-0 win like we used to. You know, there's completely different type of players now, and I think, you know, you should understand that and try and adapt a bit more, because I think on the flanks is where I feel we don't utilise it, but then I think we've got some of our best players now. I mean, look at our wide players, look at the wing backs. You know, look how we play. That's an area we should be dominating, and I think doing that against Arsenal, which we were doing in the pre-season, I have to say, that's going to be the key to winning the game. Arsenal have been pretty inconsistent as well. I think they're another team struggling with fitness, so it's really going to be a 50-50 game. Of course, they beat Benfica 5-2, but then they lost to Sevilla, and Sevilla were really good against them. You know, they got battered by us 3-0. Bayern should have beaten them as well. So they haven't had the best pre-season like us anyway. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. But I think that really our midfield should be, that should be the key thing. You know, people keep telling me Fabregas and Kante can't work. No, they can work. They easily can. You know, we're not losing games because our midfield's poor. You know, that should be, you know, that's really the perfect complementary midfield. You know, you've got your ball winner in Kante, who wins tackles perfectly, doesn't give away fouls much. He'll win any impossible one-on-one situation. Then he's got the great technique where he's got perfect control. And Kante's a one-touch, two-pass player, kind of like Busquets and players like that. He doesn't get any credit for that when it comes to his technique. But that's something that he's fantastic at. And really having that beside someone like Fabregas in a system where there's tons of off-the-ball movement, there's width. And this is why Fabregas easily comes on and usually gets an assist or goal per game. And this is the key to us winning the game. How often can we get Fabregas on the ball? And again, maybe if Conte dealt with the Costa situation better, he could have been playing in this game. Having a Fabregas there, Costa, they've got a symbiotic relationship. That's not happening. Mitchie, how well does he do with these Fabregas passes? From what I've seen, he's not doing as well as he should be. And the thing with Mitchie is that we have to remember, he isn't a traditional type of striker like Diego Costa was. Mitchie Batshuayi is a penalty box player. He got all his goals from Marseille in the penalty box and from penalties. Now, he's not about build-up play. He's about being on the end of attacks and finishing them, not helping create them. And this is why he struggles so much at Chelsea, because it's, in a way, when you've got pressure from an opponent behind you, you have to adapt yourself and know how to manage the situation, know how to use your body strength, know how to anticipate them coming towards you from behind, all these types of things. I think he's struggled, and especially because he hasn't been given much game time. So I haven't really seen too much in him. And again, he's going to be the key into how well we do. If Mitchie has a good game, holds the ball well like he was doing against Tottenham, he was, brilliant flicks, holding the ball up well against Vertonghen and players like that, then we've got a big chance. But if Mitchie is lacking confidence or, he's getting dominated, then our chances are going to be not like super slim, but they're not going to look as good as they should be. And yeah, worrying about Arsenal's front three, Lacazette started to pick up a bit of form. He really complements how they play. He's looking very sharp for them. And but I think our defence, that's something they can manage. That's something they can handle. If anything, it's the wing backs, the left hand side. It's going to be quite tricky because Cahill doesn't push out wide enough to help support Alonso, and Alonso doesn't have the speed, and he's not good at one-on-one defending to really help manage any attacks coming down his side. And of course, it is frustrating in a way that we're not playing Bakayoko, because Bakayoko would be fulfilling that Matic role. And, in a way, I hope pre-season let people know how important Matic was tactically, because, we weren't getting exposed as often with him in the team, and he was doing a great job doing all the dirty work without people ever noticing him. He's always in the right position constantly, always covering the danger, and, it made a big difference. Now with him gone, I don't know, it really is a tricky one. I think we should be winning this game. We can't be losing to Arsenal at Wembley for the third time. I mean, to even lose to them twice in a year last year just isn't good enough. I mean, even the worst Chelsea managers like, Scolari and managers like that didn't lose to them. Even in our worst season, the 15-16 season, we still beat them twice. Losing to them when we won 30 games in the league, Premier League champions, that shouldn't be happening. And if anything, I think it's definitely down to Conte's tactical approach in these games, because they seem to get a bit more negative when we're playing against the bigger teams. And it's something that needs to stop. As I said, if we attack down the flanks, get the wing backs forward, we can't let them get dominated and get them forced back, because when we're forced back as a team, we find it very hard to get out and play out again. And I mean, it is hard because our pre-season hasn't been the best and our players aren't fully match fit. So I'm finding it really hard to really ascertain how it's going to be in this game against Arsenal. But like I said, the bonus and the positive is that Arsenal are having the same problems with themselves as well. In terms of injury problems they don't have anyone really that's out, unlike us. And yeah, you guys, it's going to be a tricky one. But I'm going to start ending the match review now, the match preview now. My predicted score for the game, obviously I'm a Chelsea fan, obviously I'm going to the game, I'm going to be in a good mood. It has to be 2-1. 2-1. It has to be 2-1. I think we can do it. We can definitely exploit Arsenal. That's the thing. They're not the strongest team, especially defensively. But again, if our front three don't do the job well, if we don't keep the ball, then all of our attacks are going to mean nothing, and then our midfield can't get into the game, because that's the thing. Our midfield can only get in the game once the wing backs are pushed up, because then that's when the numbers are there. And then obviously with the midfield are on the ball, that's when the three centre backs then push up. But again, games last season, we were struggling to beat Arsenal's press, which is very uncharacteristic. But it is a pre-season. Arsenal aren't fully fit, and they're one of those teams where on their day they can press very effectively and cause problems, but then again there's other times they can't. And I'm hoping because of their lack of full match fitness, it's going to be a game where they won't be able to sustain their press, and there's going to be sloppy mistakes. Because if that's the case, we can exploit them. We can exploit that definitely, especially on the counter attack as well, like Conte likes to play. But you guys, it's a hard one. It has to be a 2-1 win for me on Saturday. Of course, you guys don't forget it's a 2 PM kickoff, and on that day too, I've got a camera. I'm borrowing my girl's brother's camera. I'm going to be doing my first match vlog. Honestly, I'm feeling kind of nervous. I look like a dickhead holding this in the stadium, so I don't want to take those like match vlogs where you like looking at my nostrils and shit. That's kind of shit. Let's be serious. So I'm going to be quite embarrassed looking like a dickhead in the stadium, but you know, I think it'll be something nice to add to the channel. And I have to warn you guys, I'm completely different when I'm in matches. When I go to matches, I'm shouting, I'm swearing, like I look like a proper like Yerda supporter. I'm being serious. So it's usually after a game has ended, and you know, once the passion's gone, you know, and I've calmed down, that's when I can start analysing what happened and, you know, do all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Saturday just purely because of the match vlog as well. I'll make sure I get some good footage for you guys. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching the match preview. Let me know in the comment section afterwards what you think the score is going to be. And if you're positive that we can beat Arsenal, if you're not feeling very optimistic, I want to hear all your thoughts and opinions. Of course, social media, follow me as NiiNiiFC, follow Blue Lions TV, follow Andy's personal Twitter account as well, description below. Shout out to official Harison for the amazing visuals. And I want to say again, because you guys encouraged me to, I've opened up a Patreon page, so that's in the description below. If you want to support and help the channel out, you know, that would be amazing. I really appreciate it. But in a way, I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while to really decide if I should do it or not, because I was feeling kind of like weird, you know. I'm feeling like a cam girl, like a cam girl would do something like that, you know, like getting paid for showing their face. So I was kind of not too sure about doing that, but I got a lot of feedback from you guys, so you know, you really encouraged me to do that, so thanks again. Anyway, you guys, thank you for watching the match preview. Tomorrow the Snapchat Q&A is coming up, and tomorrow I've got a transfer daily video coming up. Now, I've been given some news on Alexandro by my source, and the source is a guy in the bank, and there's some tantalizing information that he's given me. You definitely don't want to miss this transfer daily coming out tomorrow. I'm going to be shooting it from a new camera, so you know, I'm going to be looking good, let's be serious. Cameras like this, they make you look like 2 times better, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Andy's coming up with a special video too, and tomorrow is going to be the start of this first sponsored video by OneFootball, so you guys just obviously bear with the advert, but it really helps support the channel, because then, you know, we can get better equipment, produce better high quality content for you guys, and really make Blue Lions TV the best Chelsea fan channel, and then probably the best football YouTube channel out there. That's the ambition, that's the goal. Anyway, you guys, thanks for watching. I'm NiiNiiFC, signing out.